One of the myths some people probably had was that charcoal will probably go away. Charcoal is here to stay.
It's been 25 years since the war in northern Uganda ended. After years of living in internally displaced camps, the people had to resettle back to their land. This placed a lot of pressure on the land that had since flourished during the 2 decades-long war due to intensive and dangerous human activity. Now, pockets of bygone woodlands welcome you to Gulu. Scorched, scarred, and mutilated, the land now fights to recover. Once a land covered with green from the rolling forest, Gulu is now a landscape struggling to preserve its indigenous trees that have since been reclaimed from the ground by charcoal burning, timber harvesting, and unstoppable detective force to Gulu's woodland. 46.6 kilometers from Gulu city center, farmers like David Okuroto in Palaro sub-county are growing indigenous and exotic trees to cover the deforested areas of Ongedo parish.
Anya kilone David Okuroto, ana beru la fu na chao. Chake don ma don kwana giko la da bi primary sira chaka me meri pu ma don apu no bien ma be no bong e bong ki ja ber ki boy piara bo singere che ka me dan no ku go gang dan no chaka to ya to ber to kicho on poro ko pian ya na pa pian alwa ci donc ano beri kele ya tele no ka we ko bi no bale ja la ka tu do ka pu kuru bera pur tiang nge ke no dan do na ni be do to ko tu tiang ja be do ma ka di ya chi la cha go plan ngo ma mi ra ti yan agi ke mi ko be be ti ka o lo be ti ya du ko bi tu cha pi ya.
Formerly a beekeeper, David is one of those that have chosen to invest in growing trees. After noticing the influx on indigenous tree cutting in his area of Ongedo village for either charcoal burning or timber, he channeled to tree planting as a business specializing in both exotic and indigenous trees, as he believes that with the tree scarcity, there will be demand for more trees in the future.
An pati char piana na ni pe balo I wa ka be mo no e pe be ka ma ana na no tie gere piane yat ka dong pere chambe pera ma che pian an por yat ne yugo mo si ka dong wa lo ke community nyo me gi wa ne pe ke ye yen mer chili ma mer gen no me ko ni ge cha mo ni so tu yan chili me maka be ke ana na yan yat kum te yara chet be mer ket are ma no ki ngo ki wang e maka be no wele be di si no en ngat ya ti me maka ter jar me che so mi ana na ni go per wate ya chili be no wangare mo no wil ba ke gwan bo be pa.
On the other side of the parish, in Awich village, Achel Jackson, a 62-year-old resident, has been in the business of tree planting for over 7 years now. Majorly dealing in exotic trees like pine trees, now and recent adopting other species like the teak and melina, Jackson is making money from his mini forest and inspiring many to venture into the forestry business.
tam ina miyo ma tera da ki kan ena wero ngo mir pa dan ti ni ngo jimi mari dan ko le pe ma ti tam ina miyo ger ma tera en to nge ka ngar mu ni tam pe gi mo ni to be timo en gin ene e wer a ti pier yan ma tek ki do a ge mu ke ni ngo ni pe gi tong ni piona nge ni man bo bale wa be ngo we gi pier ki ju piona yat pe angi ma bene ne bang ti da be ter we bo pin ka ma rak ngom ti e ku no ma du be ngo yat put pe gi yene pia bo na mu ke di ku ka in no wen ka bo le bang ke.
According to Global Forest Watch, in the last 20 years, Gulu has lost 37.7 kilohectares of tree cover. Gulu district initially had 371 square kilometers of forest cover, but now environmentalists show that this has since dropped to 200 square kilometers. What was once a dappled green forest covered area has been brought to destruction, mutilated, and is a true testament to what human activity can do to land. Charcoal burning, timber harvesting, aggressive farming methods have swept Gulu district in guise of business. Each month, areas like Amuru, Moya lose 20 to 40 hectares of trees. Sadly, these are indigenous trees that are being cut down. The shea butter trees, mivule and mahogany that take years to grow have been torn from the fabrics of the land, and the remnants are on the verge of extinction. Arthur, who is a journalist based in Gulu, also tells us on how the media has played an enormous role in curbing the issue of charcoal burning and timber cutting.
Yeah, but first of all, I must state here quite clearly that yes, our role, our campaign had enormous results. Broad daylight here, you'd see logs, broad daylight. There's a renegade canoe here who we checked. We went and his truck the trailer was impounded, took it to the Kaunda grounds, the bomber grounds here. But at the end of the day, he happened to take his truck of the logs. But we brought that to the attention of the masses and raised up their consciousness to the fact that these things were happening, broad daylight. So you wouldn't see that happening. Two, we undertook the task of naming and shaming errant leaders, LC3 chairpersons, and I'm happy that even in the campaign we made it quite clear that they shouldn't be voted. I'm happy that 3 of them, the notorious ones, were not sent back to office. But then thirdly, also some of those police officers who were receiving bribes and district officers, some of them, their names are actually known. We actually brought it to the attention of the communities, and the naming and shaming project actually did work for us.
And we have achieved a lot, I think, to share with you, but we have done a lot in terms of mobilizing the community against people who come and want to clear all the chunk of land full of trees. We mobilize people we mobilize people how to productively use their land and their trees. And then at the same time, we brought element of planting more trees. We look towards having what they call charcoal farming. How can these communities, the vulnerable members of the community who claim they are poor, can be mobilized to use the land and plant trees so that they involve themselves in a productive and sustainable way of charcoal production through charcoal farming and planting fast-growing trees like the indigenous fast-growing trees are there, and the one they brought here, even they're there. So if you could mix the two, the indigenous should take center state, and then the other one should be there, because the exotic one are majorly for timbers production and money, but this one here has more roles than even timber. So this is what I've been able to do over the last 2.5, coming to 3 years now. Before the corona broke out, we were intending to mobilize every parish so that the youth who are redundant in the community, these are youth who are selling the trees, they should begin having nursery beds to produce seedlings so that they either distribute freely or they sell at a relatively low, affordable price by the member of the community. So our target was to have the expertise in tree planting, to go and train them maybe for 1 week, and they should be trained on how to manage and manage this seedling, and then they give it to people. So we are still stuck there. So I think after the lockdown, next year we enroll back on training the youth in the community, because we are looking at the positivity. Every time you say, okay, the damage already been caused, what can we do now to revert or to improve on what's already on the ground? And that's the next target.
It is a given fact that Uganda as a whole highly depends on the use of charcoal and firewood, having both at a 90% usage in both urban and rural areas. Timber is also a huge component in the construction business of Uganda, and worse still, 80% of Uganda's timber trade is illegal, contributing to 200,000 hectare loss through deforestation. With indigenous trees coming to depletion, sustainable tree management, call it tree planting, is an alternative that is being adopted to sustain the biomass production while preserving the indigenous tree species. Sustainable tree management includes the planting of both indigenous and exotic tree species. Since the country and Gulu in particular cannot do away with charcoal or timber production, tree planting comes as a sustainable plan that has seen Uganda recover its forest cover, increasing from 9% in 2015 to 12.5% in 2020. Langoya Dixon, who has been in the forestry business for over 15 years now, describes how he managed to pull off the tree planting.
Yeah, indeed. Actually, when we even started this project here, I think around 2006, and by that time, a lot of people were still in the IDP camp. One of the biggest IDP camp was that way. So we were working together with the people in the IDP camp, and literally this place was not even a single tree you would see here, completely clear. So as we started bringing them, of course, financially I was literate. Economically, I was literate. And my choice of the practice, I knew exactly. So when we started some of the practices to make sure that you do the pitting right, the planting right, the soil moisture content should be right, the management should be right, we were doing it with the community. And of course, they were saying, hey, why are you putting this thing in line? Why are you dipping? Why are you very strict about this? But in the process, they were also learning. So as people who are now living and going back home, around the forest and this sub-county of Koro, you will find some small wood lots. They have been copied. So whenever we are trying to do something here, they'll say, oh, those people have started. Then they would go. We start this one, fire season. Oh, they have started doing their fire line. They would start. Hey, they are doing their weeding. They would start. Then actually this sub-county, they have learned quite a lot from us.
With sustainable tree management comes a business plan. For many charcoal and timber producers, the excuse is the need to sustain their families and escape poverty. With tree planting, conservation of forests is ensured while the biomass production is also left intact. With a very short growth rate of 3 to 5 years, a tree species can be ready for use in the shortest time possible, hence ensuring sustainable management of trees and conservation of already scarce indigenous trees. In planting trees, Gulu is not only restoring trees they've lost, but protecting those that the region and the country cannot afford to lose. In Gulu, cutting down of indigenous trees like the shea butter tree for charcoal among other indigenous tree species is a common activity given the quality of charcoal it is known for. This has, however, endangered the tree species that not only carry cultural value to the region, but also has various uses that can be used to make sustainable income for the people. With charcoal burning getting expensive, timber being traded illegally, there is no telling what the future could hold for the forest cover in Gulu. With sustainable tree management, there is hope that the now depleted areas in the various parts of Gulu can thrive again with planted forests. In various parts of the district, people have adopted tree planting, an initiative that many organizations in the area, together with the government through the National Forestry Agency, have supported by supplying tree seedlings to interested parties. Community effort makes it all the difference when it comes to reforestation in Gulu district. Having noticed the change in seasons and acknowledging that cutting down of trees is part of the problem, farmers have taken matters into their own hands through partnerships with the tree organizations such as JC and Kijani Forestry, together with the National Forestry Agency. Communities like Paibona in Gulu have 150 dedicated farmers that work with Kijani Forestry to reforest the areas, while in Pawel, many farmers have followed in the footsteps of JC Forestry to plant their own trees. Wise Women Uganda, a community-based organization in Gulu, has planted over 40,000 indigenous tree species with about 900 farmers and partner organizations.